Hello everyone, my name is Daniel. On a daily basis I run a web shop in Denmark that's called Nordic Anglers, and I like to fish a lot for all the fish we have in Denmark and all around the world. Today we're tying shrimp. This is a pattern that I have invented, and it is basically a kind of base pattern that can be used for a lot of things. You can adapt this to do both fish for bonefish and other saltwater species as well. The main thing here in this fly is it's fairly simple. It has the profile of a shrimp really well. And then the key element in this one is I've added some boar bristles, because boar bristles for some reason seems to have an almost magical attraction to both trout and salmon, but trouts in particular. So that is a key element of this fly. Otherwise, as I said, it has the profile, it has the right movement in the water as a shrimp. It's fairly easy, and I think, well, without further ado, we're gonna tie this one now. It's called the harvester because it catches a lot of fish. And it fishes really well, and it's one of those flies that you can just tie on, and then you can just fish for hours without having to bother about rubber legs and stuff tangling. It just works, it just performs, and it outfishes a lot of other patterns that I know. In particular, this has been very productive in the fall, but also in the spring, because it has a lot of fluorescent fibers in there as well. So, well, let's tie this. We're going to use an Ahrex light stinger hook in a size 4. The light stinger hook is one of my favorite hooks for all things sea trout or all things trout and streamers in general. It has a really nice profile. It has a very wide hook gape, which makes it ideal for hooking fish. And I find that this hook is one of the best hooking, one of the hooks that has the highest percentage of actually hooking fish that strike your fly. So it's a long-time favorite of mine, and this fly you can tie in both, a size 4, 6, and even an 8, depending on the water conditions and stuff. But we're tying it today in a 4 because that makes it a little easier for you to actually see what's going on. So basically, I've just covered the hook shank here with tying thread to have a secure hold for all the rest of the materials, and then I'm going to combine 2 different dubbings. This is the STF dubbing and some ice dubbing in salmon pink. And if you take a bundle of these out and simply just pull them apart and put them on top of one another and rinse and repeat that for a long time, you get a dubbing that's really nice, that has this translucency of the STF fiber, but also has the fluorescence from the ice dubbing. And the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to make a small bundle. And this is to basically to ensure that the tail of the fly and the eyes are gonna have the right position throughout all the hours of fishing out in the water with this one. So basically, I'm just gonna take a small amount of dubbing and just, I don't know what this technique is called, but basically you're just meshing it onto the thread. You don't need a dubbing loop for this part of the fly. We're gonna use one later, but not now. And then basically just create a bulge down here, like so. And then I'm gonna just pull a bit of the dubbing out with my dubbing needle here. Yes, it's not just a complete, very clumsy and big looking ball of dubbing. So basically, like this. Then we're gonna we're gonna have the eyes now, and here I'm going to use the Easy Shrimp Eyes. If you're not familiar with these are without a doubt the best shrimp eyes I've ever tried. There are 2 eyes on a stalk here, and they're very easy to use. And also, what I like about these is they're attached to the same stalk, which makes them fairly durable, very durable and strong. And also, if you, like me, have been using a lot of eyes you've made yourself throughout the time and stuff, you will have noticed that every now and then you'll get a lot of shrimps that are pirate shrimps, which basically means they have only one eye left. They still fish, but I like it. I mean, pirate shrimp it can be quite good, but I like them with both their eyes attached. So now the eyes are in place. You can see how easy that was. It basically just is completely fastened and secured. And then I'm going to take a small bundle of the dubbing here. The STF dubbing is a relatively long dubbing, so it's ideal for making tails and so on the fly as well. And it's also one of the things that makes this fly so great. It's not that it's a fairly inexpensive fly when it comes to materials. We don't use that many different materials. So basically, I'm just gonna mesh this a bit out between my hands and my fingers, and then attach it right here on top here. It's gonna give a tail, but also it's gonna cover the bundle of dubbing right there, and basically just gonna form the tail and the spike of the nose spike of the actual shrimp. Then I'm gonna take some boar bristle. These are natural. You can use, if you don't have, you know, the natural ones, you can use, I mean, orange would probably be fine, and brown and stuff. But these boar bristles is amazing because for some reason they just have an absolutely almost magnetic attraction on sea trout and salmon, on trout in particular, and on salmon as well. I don't know why this is, but I think perhaps one of the reasons it could be is because these are fairly stiff hairs, so they will stand out behind the shrimp and actually move into the water. Even as you retrieve it, even if you retrieve it fast, they will still be out there moving in the water and affecting the current, the water as it flows across the shrimp as you pull it towards you, as you retrieve it. And I think that actually stimulates the sideline of the fish in a different way because it has these feelers that are sticking out there. I think it must have some effect on that because they're so stiff. These feelers, these boar bristles. So basically, just take a bundle of these. You could tie them in one and one, but because I want to do this as, you know, this is a fly intended for my box. I'm gonna fish this. So basically, I don't spend too much time placing the individual ones. Like this is perfectly fine, and as you can see, they are really like a corona, just out there, and they're going to be out there into the water, really attracting the fish. And I'm gonna cut off all the boar bristles. Like so. I'm gonna turn, oh, there's not any more of that. And I'm gonna turn the rest of the dubbing backwards to finish off the thorn, the spike on the shrimp here. There we go. And that is mainly the tail. Then we're gonna use a feather. And for this I'm using an Ewing, and this is I can't or never recall what these are called. I think they're called saltwater patches or something like that. They are amazing quality. Has some really awesome feathers and a lot of feather for the price. And also Ewing is the only one that actually makes some grisly colors that has been bleached first. I haven't seen that in any other of the feather producers. And to bleach the grisly makes it kind of give this very unique colors. That I really like, in particular for all things trout. And I think kudos, shout out to Ewing for actually doing that. So basically, I'm going to take a few of the fibers here from that is really long, and just to give a bit more movement and stuff to the tail. I'm just gonna take a few of the longest here and then just attach them. This way we save a feather, so we don't have to make a full hackle down here. Basically just attach some of the longer ones. Yeah. That looks nice. There we go. Then I'm gonna tie down the feather for the hackle. I think it's just gonna use the same one. Oh, I must have pulled really hard to break the thread there, but that is that's just part of everyday life, you know. Just gonna see if you have a threader here. That was one. With these CF design bobbins, it's easier to go with it. For some reason that didn't work. Just gonna change my bobbin here The chimku ones are very nice as well. Yeah, this is one of those things that happen, you know. There we go. Back at it. So, as I was saying, tying down the feather here, and you need to make sure that the front side of the feather, the side of the feather that is pointing upwards here, is also pointing upwards when you tie it down. Because when you tie your feather this way, it will the natural curvature of the actual hackle will be correctly from the beginning when you start to tie your fly. Also, I'm going to tie the hackle stem all the way up here to give a bit more bulk to the actual body, to even out the difference between all the fly tying thread I have up there, and then basically the rest of the body, to kind of give it that, to pre-arrange it so it has kind of a tapering effect. So it's thick here, and then it gradually tapers down all the way up to the eye, to make sure that this fly will have the right tapering that is intended for this pattern, or for shrimp in general. I made a dubbing loop, then I'm moving my tying thread all the way up to the eye. I'm going to take a bit more of the dubbing that we made before. I'm going to place this inside the dubbing loop. Just a bit more. And this is, as I said, the hairs on the STF dubbing. The STF dubbing is a really nice dubbing, but it's fairly long. So you can see that the dubbing brush I'm going to make from this dubbing loop is going to be very, very long, but that's okay, because that's just going to add a lot of movement to the fly here. There we go. I'll take my needle, pull out some of this, so we don't just have a big fat lump of dubbing there. Here we want this to be a brush, not to be a sausage, or whatever you want to call that. I don't know. Dubbing sausage. Maybe a new word I just invented. I don't know. I don't think you can find it in the dictionary. But you know what I mean. There we go. I'm gonna fold everything back here, and then I'm gonna turn this. Fold everything back, and I'm gonna turn it. And the idea here is to have a bigger part of have a thicker part of the body behind, and then gradually this is gonna taper down. So it's gonna be less and less thick the more we move towards the eye, to give this fly the right proportions, and to give this fly, the right look and feel as a shrimp that is evading whatever is chasing. Because basically when we tie flies like this with the eyes to the back, it's because the way we retrieve a shrimp is most often at least, is in long hauls like this. And what the fish will see the shrimp, the movement of that like is the shrimp, it flips the tail down beneath itself, and then it shoots off in the opposite direction of its eyes. And that's basically why we tie shrimps the other way. If we were tying, fishing and tying shrimps that were just swimming, then we would have to place the eyes in the front. Because a shrimp that just swims from, let's say, A to B, from one seaweed bed to another, it doesn't swim backwards with the eyes pointing backwards. It basically just swims. So this is the way we have done this, is to tie this, is to imitate the flight pattern of a shrimp that is alarmed, a shrimp that is fleeing. And that is why we have the eyes in the back, because it is to imitate the shrimp that actually has seen the predator and is now fleeing for its life. And presumably things that flee are more prone to be eaten. At least that's my experience. A fly that swims away from the predator is very, very much more efficient than a fly that swims towards a fish. If you cast a fly, present a fly so it swims toward a fish, almost no matter what fish it is, they will not tend to grab that fly. You always need to present it as a piece of prey that is actually fleeing. That is the best way of presenting a fly to a fish. I saw that on numerous different saltwater trips. I've seen it with trout, seen it even with, pike is probably not the best example, because if a pike wants to grab the fly, it will just eat it. But with trout and with saltwater species and stuff, it's always important, tarpon and things like that. It's very important to present the fly so it swims away from the fish, not towards the fish, because no sane prey, no real prey would ever swim directly towards a predator. Yeah, me ranting again. While I rant about all that, basically what I'm doing here is pulling out some of the dubbing to make the taper here on the fly perfect. And we're gonna brush it with the dubbing brush. So this is going to be very transparent, very translucent. It's going to look a lot like a shrimp with the profile here. And then it's going to have all the feelers sticking out to the sides here, affecting the water flow across the fly. And presumably, at least that's the best way the best explanation I have for why these boar bristles are so efficient, but they just are. Every single pattern that I have where boar bristle is used is just somehow almost magical in how well they fish and how many fish they catch compared to a lot of other patterns. So if you take one thing away from this, then it is I would urge you to go out and buy a piece of boar bristle and try to incorporate it as much as possible in some of your patterns, because I'm very certain that you will see that the boar bristles here really does make a difference in all sorts of different patterns. You could use them in nymphs as well. You could use them in all sorts of different things for whatever, and in particular also in salmon flies. So basically there it is, harvester. Easy, fast shrimp that is not very expensive to tie. I mean, you don't need exactly this bleached grizzly one to make a hackle. You can easily just use a grizzly hackle, or even ginger or a brown one would work as well. But I like the striations for the pattern here. But I mean, any hackle in a brownish tone will actually do. And then it's just 2 dubbings and some eyes and a hook. Of course, the boar bristle. So fairly inexpensive, really nice and easy shrimp pattern that I'm sure will catch a lot of bonefish, a lot of snappers, a lot of other stuff as well. But for sea trout, this one is definitely a killer.